So the final preparation step that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating a selection of all the space outside these UVs. Now remember, each of these polygons here is a map to somewhere on the actual model itself. But all this empty space around here doesn't really mean anything. It has nothing to do with how the model is going to look. So it really doesn't matter to me if I have any texture there, and in fact I really don't want to have any texture there because that's going to make it a lot harder for me to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to create a selection for the outside of the texturing that will let me hide the texture in that area, and then I'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to be using the Magic Wand tool, and particularly I'm going to be using a function of it called the additive selection. Now all your selection tools, the Magic Wand, the lasso, the marquee, all these tools have an additive selection mode, and it's right here. So here's the normal selection, here's the additive selection. And what the additive selection basically means is that if I create another selection, well, I already have a selection here, it will add that select part to my selection. See, if I switch to the normal selection mode and I try to select a new part, it takes away everything I've already selected and defines a new selection. But with additive selection, it will add it to what I've already selected. There is also a subtractive selection where you can tell it what not to have selected, like so. Generally, I always have the additive selection active just because I usually need to make some pretty complicated selections, but it's very good to know, because if you want to select multiple parts of an image that aren't touching each other, that's how you do it. Now, I don't actually need this selection at the moment. Now, the only reason I have it is because at this point I can see the lines really, really well, and so I know where to click my wand. But I don't really want the selection at the moment. I'm going to need it later. So I'm going to save my selection. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to Save Selection, and I'll give it a name. So in this case, UV outside, because it represents all the space that is outside my UVs. And I'm going to save that selection, and now I can bring it up and call upon it anytime that I want to. So I'm going to deselect, and now I'm going to bring in my texture.